So Cecilio, before we begin the lesson in your class, maybe you can give us a little bit of information about the makeup of the class.
Okay. Well, just some of the data of the class. So we have 27 students, 14 girls, 13 boys. We have 2 students who are identified with special needs. Okay. We have 3 students who are English language learners. One has been here for about 1 year and is extremely fluent in Spanish. And so I've partnered him up with a volunteer who has asked to work with him because she's comfortable with her English skills and also comfortable translating into Spanish for him. We also, looking at their CST data from 6th grade, we have 14 students who are advanced to proficient, and then 10 students who are basic or below basic, and I have 3 students who I don't have CST data for. But outside of data, it's a very friendly group of students. They work well collaboratively in their groups of 4, and even though some are a little shy or quiet, they still have great conversations together, and the work that we've collected from them throughout our time together this year verifies that they do work well together. There's a particular student named Charles that is a very bright student, and I would be curious to see what are some of the thoughts that he has as we're working through the different tables about the different questions that are asked. I would also be curious to see how Melanie and Daniel are working together. They're the Spanish-speaking team that we talked about earlier. I also have some teams of girls, and I feel that within those teams that they have a lot of great mathematical ideas that aren't always shared out with the class. Okay. And so that'd also be another group that I'd like for you to take a look at.
What parts of the lessons do we think that students will find straightforward and be successful at?
Well, there's the student H. It has 3 tables. That would be easy for them to read. If there's any confusion, it would be because the second 2 tables don't have labels. That would be the difficulty. Otherwise, it just labels, it has the table for 4th scenario, 2nd scenario, 3rd scenario.
And is this the first table that we're going to be using in our lesson then today?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's our opening one. Okay.
Yes.
So what parts of the lessons do we think students will struggle with?
Oh, we have another one we think
good.
will do quite
So
well.
I think that students will do well with student E, which is going to be the 3rd table that we work with. Student E is the tabular representation that has correct data, and it will follow student A, which will be the first table where we talk about 0. But student E, I think, will be a table that they will have full understanding of.
Right. And so the lesson has been designed, I think we touched upon this just briefly, but the lesson has been designed then to be able to be used in any 7th grade classroom, regardless of what kind of a class we may have.
Sure.
And so maybe we should address that a little bit here. What makes it a complete lesson? What makes it so that we are able to address those students who are in the accelerated class or more advanced class versus those who are not? So how has the lesson been devised to meet the needs of all those students? So perhaps we could talk about the pieces. You've mentioned student H, and then you said the 3rd table is student E, and so perhaps you'd like to share a little bit about.
And the student A is the difficult,
The second
one
one.
that might be that's the second one. It will be the most difficult one. It has the issue of 0, whether to start with 0 or 1. When do you have to start with 1, and when do you have to start with 0? When is it crucial to start with 0? So that is a big piece for the students to understand. And do you have any?
And with going from student H to student A, some students may be challenged with the idea of combining all 3 tables into one. And as been stated already, starting with 0 versus starting with 1, that's going to be a new idea probably for some of the students to see the information that you can gather by starting a table at 0.
There's also the difference between vertical and horizontal tables.
Yes.
Some students like to see it horizontally, others vertically, but they need to realize you can represent data both ways.
So we have these 3 tables and these 3 different students, and we have H, A, and E, and then we do a comparison looking for similarities and differences between the different tabular representations. And what else is built into the lesson then that we could, if we happen in a class to get through all of those and have a very deep conversation around those similarities and differences, I do believe it's
We have actually two things that we are planning to use, whether it's in this lesson or in lessons to follow. One being student J, and student J is a student who organized their table in a different way but didn't include enough information to answer the prompt of when will all 3 DVD plans cost the same. We also have 2 challenges that we have created, which also give the students opportunity to work with the idea of cost analysis and using a table to show their ideas and their conclusions about the cost effectiveness of the 2 different plans.
And also just to realize that the students will have difficulties when they're comparing all 3
Yes.
or all of them, and going back every time we introduce a new table and how they are related to each other and how we can find the answer in each one. And also we also have to realize the lesson doesn't end today.
Yes.
It's a re-engagement that's going to go on for a couple of days. So
Depending upon our class.
that's right.
Yes.
Any additional comments?
I would like to know that the staff, our math department, enjoys these lesson studies, and it's a learning experience, actually being able to listen in on the students and see what they're saying, that you naturally, when you're in the class alone, you don't get to hear everybody all the time.
The insight that we gain to each other's teaching and to each other's own interpretations of different lessons and different ideas is definitely an opportunity for all of us to grow as professionals. So we're definitely grateful for the opportunity to participate in lesson study.
And I'd like to say additionally too that the lesson study has been really wonderful as far as fine-tuning our prompts. You know, we had some prompts and we felt we weren't getting what we really wanted to get from some of it. We changed the order of some of the student work that was shared because we decided that maybe the order we had wasn't getting at that mathematical piece in the
That's right.
sequence. So with lesson study, it does provide us that opportunity to collaborate and to discuss and to observe students actually using those prompts and having those discussions, and lets us fine-tune a lesson.
And it's
Make
also,
it better.
also exciting seeing the kids, how excited
It
they
is.
just
Yes.
are.
It is,
Yes.
and I think it's good for all of us to be able to get out of class to watch other students,
Other students, other
teachers.
teachers.
Yes.
And it's around the same lesson though,
That's
so
right.
then we can have common conversation about the actual mathematics of the
That's
lesson
right.
and what's happening with the students and with their understanding of that. So, all right, so I think we're
Okay.
ready. We have our we know what we need to do, right? We need to take notes.
We're
so,
the observers.
Okay. Yes,
You're
we
the-
are.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.